What up, you guys? Welcome back to Furrow Publications YouTube channel. It's me, Rich. Daily uploads to open up my own shop. And today I want to talk about Lee and Low Diversity Baseline Survey. It's kind of like the industry standard for the publishing world, just to kind of get a sense of like what's going on with the diversity in the publishing sphere. So like my video from yesterday, some of those numbers were based off of this, which is what made me kind of like consider it. And I have the latest one here. And for the most part, there's some things that are very heartening, but some things that are still not very heartening. So to begin with, the industry is still at this moment predominantly white. It's 72.5% white. And this is the survey that was done last year. So 72.5% white. And then the other thing is that it is a cumulative 82% straight. Still predominantly white and predominantly straight. And that's the reality of it. And so for a lot of people, I think what they don't understand about this is, although there might be pandering to people of color and to like diversity, right, and to the queer community and things like that, pandering is not the same like legitimately bringing them to the table. And what do I mean by that? So that means that 72.5% is this big block of white people. And then 82% is this other huge block of straight thinkers. And they are at the gate and they get to decide what queer literature comes through, what black and brown literature comes through, right? What female literature comes through. So you have these two big blocks that get to decide what the narrative is. And one of the things that I like about that survey that it does really well is that it talks about, based off of the current population, how does this reflect? Is this an honest reflection of our current day society? And it rates it. And obviously this is not a good representation of our everyday society. Have there been popular black writers? Like, that's not the point. The point is rather who was at the gate that let them through. Because the reality is, like, you have these two big blocks and they're picking and choosing what will or won't go through the gate. And that's where the problem lies. Because they're gonna pick and choose stories that they either identify with, stories that they feel they can sell. A lot of times I've heard of stories of them making things, asking them to tone things down to make it more palatable for a certain audience. And like, those are the kind of things where I'm talking about of, if there is not more diversity in the publishing sphere, as far as like the publishing apparatus, like, we're going to continuously have people pick and choose what are the stories that are going to represent us. That is where the problem lies. And again, I know it goes without saying, is this idea that like your own individual experience is not representative of the quantitative data that there exists in the world. Just because you went through these things, that doesn't mean that that's what the whole industry as a picture is showing. And that's one of the things that I like about numbers and data, right? Because like, you could pander all you want, but again, I don't think that people understood what the problem was. They weren't talking about diversifying the books that come out, because you can get a bunch of black and brown faces to write a bunch of stories about white people. That doesn't help. The question is, are these stories and movies and like, is this media authentically other, or is it, again, pandering? That's a whole nother topic for another day. But like I said, it just surprises me. And you know what's another big block that they talk about is 83.5 able-bodied. Meaning that there's a big disproportionate representation of disabled folks as well in the publishing sphere. And I just want to mention that because we don't always think about that as well. We all as well deal with our own intersections and our own blind sides. But like, I definitely want to get better at all those aspects and just give bigs ups when, you know, I can. And so for disabled folks, they're also underrepresented in the publishing sphere. So again, Lee and Low Diversity Baseline Survey is what this is called. You can find them. You can find all of them, right? In 2015, I think they said that the industry was like 91% white. So like, there is diversity, there is movement, there is change, but is it enough? And that's the question. And again, that's the point. That regardless of has there been change, is it done changing? Because this shouldn't be the end result. These two big blocks still need to get broken up. They need to be a more truer representation of the day-to-day societies that we live in. And this is not it. But alright, you guys, thank you so much for watching. As always, please like, share, subscribe. I do this daily, so I'll be back tomorrow. Lates.